A judge has blocked the Trump administration's recent move to halt Harvard University from enrolling any international students. This is Judge Allison Burroughs, who issued a temporary restraining order against the federal edict, agreeing with Harvard that they'd shown that its implementation would cause, quote, immediate and irreparable injury to the university, because it would stop them not only in the future from enrolling them, but the current students as well, which is chaotic. And we're gonna give you all the numbers about how crazy that would be. But to rewind just a little bit, this move comes after the head of the Department of Homeland Security and enthusiastic dog murderer Kristi Noem ordered the university to hand over all records of international students' illegal and violent activities, which is code words for advocating for a ceasefire, an end to genocide, whatever. And so if this had been allowed to stand, or if it in the end goes through, maybe the Supreme Court will allow it, that would affect fully a quarter of Harvard's student body. About 6,800 international students attended Harvard in the last year. And so that's a significant percentage of their student body, of their the money that Harvard brings in. It's part of why Harvard is not only known as this famous and respected American university, but is known worldwide, partly because people all over the world want to come here. Well, if it's up to Trump, then that may end. And Kristi Noem wants to make clear that this isn't just about Harvard. That's just the beginning of much more. Take a look.
This should be a warning to every other university to get your act together. Get your act together, because we are coming to make sure that these programs that you are facilitating an environment where students can learn, where they're safe, and that they're not discriminated against based on their race or their religion. Anti-Semitism will not be stood for, and any participation with a country or an entity or a terrorist group that hates America and perpetuates this kind of violence, we will stop it.
Okay, so again, a lot of that is just code words. I mean, there's great reporting earlier this week on the close ties multiple members of the Trump administration have to anti-Semitic organizations and figures. They don't care about that. They're not doing anything about that, because this isn't actually about anti-Semitism. It's about cracking down on pro-Palestinian speech, op-eds, signs, whatever. And so, Cenk, she says there, she just wants people to be free, not to be discriminated against, while trying to stop anyone born outside of the United States from coming here. That seems a little bit inconsistent.
Yeah, there's a lot of different things here that we got to go over. So first of all, Randy Fine, a Republican congressman, said yesterday that we should nuke Gaza, and it's because Muslims know nothing but violence. And today he said that he would be concerned about going next to a Muslim like Ilhan Omar. So I'm sure that they're taking away all of his funding, and there's congressional hearings. No, we're not concerned about Islamophobia or any other problem, only anti-Semitism. Now, even if that were true, which it isn't, if that were true, that's already disastrous and makes no sense. And by the way, would lead to more anti-Semitism, because you're saying we will only protect Jewish Americans. We will not protect anyone else. You can say anything you want about Muslims, Christians, Americans, Buddhists, who cares? Level them. Say anything you like, okay? You say something against a Jewish American, oh, we're gonna kick you out of the country. That's gonna lead to way more anti-Semitism. In fact, that leads to point number 2, which is that Chuck Schumer and I believe 7 other Jewish senators signed a letter saying, don't do this. What are you doing? No, don't take people's Harvard's funding away or anything else like that. They're not in favor of the so-called anti-Semitism task force. So what we have here is not just a battle between Trump and Harvard. We have a battle between right-wing pro-Israel donors like Miriam Adelson and AIPAC, and everyone else, including all of the other Jewish, not just Americans, but senators and politicians, etc. So I don't want anybody to get it twisted like, oh my God, all of the Jews in America have asked for this, or or the powerful Jews are doing this or that. No, everybody's divided, totally divided. This is asked for by ludicrous, and calling them right wing doesn't even do it justice. Absolute radical, pro-Israel, pro-genocide donors like Miriam Adelson, okay? So now that leads to point number 3 and the most important point. Mainstream media is so frustrating. None of them even point out, hey, this is to make sure that you shut down any critic of Israel. And by the way, Kristi Noem says, yes, we will not allow anti-Israel bias. Not just anti-Semitism, but anti-Israel bias. But to be fair, they also said you can't discriminate against Norway or Peru or Botswana or Cambodia. Oh no, right, they didn't say that about any other country. They just said you're not allowed to do free speech in this country if it's against Israel. It can't be any more blatant than that, and mainstream media is like, I don't see it. It looks like they have a legitimate effort to combat anti-Semitism, but perhaps they've gone a little too far. And then on the other side, they say Harvard says they might not comply, but do they ever say this is not a legitimate fight against anti-Semitism? Almost all the Democratic, not even Democratic, but Jewish senators overall in Congress are against this. So how could it be battling anti-Semitism, etc.? No. God forbid anybody on cable news should accurately point out that some donors that favor Israel obviously control our politicians. And this is in the context of Donald Trump. They've called every dirty name in the word. I'm sorry, every dirty word in the world, right? So it's not like cable news is shy about criticizing Donald Trump. But when it comes to his actions supporting Israel, no. Let's pretend this is about anti-Semitism. Let's pretend this is about fighting hatred overall. No, this is cold, hard cash from pro-Israel, and they're not just pro-Israel. A lot of people are pro-Israel, pro-genocidal current Israeli government, saying finish the genocide, and don't let anybody in America criticize Israel. And the dogs, which is ironic, Kristi Noem, I thought you shot dogs. But anyway, the dogs of this administration, like Kristi Noem and Donald Trump, go, yes, sir, absolutely, sir. How can I serve you, Mr. Netanyahu? And cable news is like, I don't see it. I don't see donors affecting politicians. Oh, that would never happen. That sounds conspiratorial. Anyway, it was.
Yeah, I mean, they're doing the thing where they conflate being pro-Israel with being Jewish, when we know that's just not true. The pro-Israel faction has evangelicals in it. Those people love Jesus. Neocons, obviously. And then, of course, there's the Israel lobby who just love this regime and want to tamp down any level of protest, be it nonviolent or otherwise. And that's why they're behaving in such an aggressive manner. Like if the objective was for universities to make sure Jewish students weren't being discriminated against, everybody would get behind that. Nobody would think that was a terrible thing to do, but we know that's not what it is. Like the pro-Israel sort of faction in our country, the coalition, if you want to even call it that, it's not just Jewish people. And the funny thing too to me about these evangelicals who also are just so gung-ho about this Israel stuff is that they're gung-ho about it because they think the rapture is gonna happen and Jesus is gonna come back and kill all these Jewish people anyway. Like, it's so strange, the bedfellows that end up lining up on the pro-Israel camp. But I think the reason why they're taking such an aggressive posture is because they are just losing the propaganda war. Nobody is behind this. Absolutely nobody supports it. The entire Democratic Party base has completely turned against Israel and this war. Even Republicans are now, most Republicans, except for a faction of older Republicans, don't support this war, and that's why they have to be so aggressive in tamping down speech.
Yeah, in terms of tamping down speech, I've only been doing this for like 13 years or whatever, but I've been following politics since roughly around 2001. And not everything is worse than it was back when George W. was president. Like, there were plenty of terrible things happening back then. But I was thinking about like these two times when they've tried to really clamp down on free speech. They've really like gone in hard against Muslims in America. And like when they did it in the wake of 9/11, they took a terror attack that some Muslims had committed, and then that was it basically for your civil liberties and civil rights if you were Muslim in America. They were infiltrating groups and everything. They were passing the Patriot Act. So like some Muslims committed a terror attack, and then that was it for the rights. In this case, it's crimes being committed against Muslims, like war crimes, genocide against Muslims, and we're also still gonna take your rights away. Like, you're not even the ones who are doing it. It's you are facing the genocide. It's your land that we're talking about stealing. And don't you dare talk about the fact that you're the target of the most heinous war crimes we've seen in living memory. I mean, that's, again, not everything's worse than it was 20 years ago, but I feel like this is pretty significantly worse. And also on the actions against Harvard, like it has been moving so quickly. Like they came up with this thing where you can't have international students. Again, not everyone can't. It's very targeted. That's how the Trump administration works right now. Everything is individualistic, personal against organizations, corporations, law offices, and individual. They're doing this to Harvard. They froze $3 billion in contracts. They want to tax just their endowment. It is so specific and biased, and that's the way they're operating. They talked about the Biden administration, his DOJ doing this, weaponizing, going after against individuals. But Tom Homan is demonizing AOC, talking about locking her up on a daily basis. They're doing charges against politicians. They're strong arming law offices into providing this pro bono services. They've taken their individual donors and they shut down all the investigations, all the fraud and all that on their corporations. Like it's not just that we're seeing more of this type of stuff, biased, weaponized government. I feel like we're seeing more of it than there has been in the rest of our lives, all in the period of about 3 months. And I just wonder how much worse it can get over the course of a full 4-year term.
Well, there's no question. This is as bad as I've ever seen it. So Bush was worse in other ways. He invaded Iraq, hundreds of thousands of people died. It's hard to get worse than that. And he restarted torture, and warrantless wiretapping, and crashed the economy, and sunk New Orleans. So he did a lot of terrible things, and by the way, destroyed the budget, and passed tax cuts even bigger than Trump's. So I get all that, right? But in terms of constitutional violations and constantly overreaching and cracking down, ironically, on freedom of speech and freedom overall, this is easily the worst administration. I mean, I get asked every single day online, well, if you're so anti-establishment, why'd you vote for Kamala Harris? This is why I voted for Kamala Harris, because Trump said before, when he lost the 2020 election, that we should terminate the Constitution. He has no respect for the Constitution at all. Then immediately gets in, starts talking about how he's gonna run again, when that's unconstitutional. And it's just gotten worse and worse. We are sending undocumented criminals to a dungeon in El Salvador. Just kidding. Some of them are not undocumented. In fact, some of them are legal. In fact, some of them have court orders saying we are not to deport them. And we did it anyway, because who cares about court orders? Then Stephen Miller comes out and goes rid of habeas corpus, established back in the Magna Carta, one of the cornerstones of Western civilization. Yeah, we might throw that in the trash and then burn it, right? So these are dangerous guys. Now, at the same time, I mean, Waz alluded to it earlier, they've got a rebellion going on in their own right-wing ranks. I know if you're on the left and you watch other shows, you're totally unaware of that, because they'll tell you, no, they're all robots, they're all in a cult, they all think the same exact way, etc. So you don't know that that's not at all true. Like, there's an open rebellion against Israel for sure. I think the Dave Smith, Douglas Murray debate on Joe Rogan was a tipping point. And at that point, MAGA started mocking people who were demanding obedience to Israel. Piers Morgan the other day saying that's it, it's definitely a genocide, is another tipping point. And they're getting tipping point after tipping point. Candace Owens the other day, and I'm not saying that she's someone you should trust or rely on. I'm saying what is happening within right-wing ranks, okay? Candace Owens did this huge speech about how we've all been lied to and that there's nothing wrong with Muslims. We were all told to hate Muslims so that we would fight Israel's wars in the Middle East. And you're telling me that there's no dissension on the right? No, the right's an open revolt, and it's about to boil over. And when that happens, I don't know what Trump's gonna do. Again, if you watch other left-wing shows, they'll tell you, no. Once Trump says you are all dogs of Israel, MAGA will immediately fall in line and they will all become dogs of Israel. That's not true. I'm saying it now. I said it, by the way, at the beginning of the Trump administration when absolutely no one believed me, okay? So I'm telling you right now, there's no way that all of those shows that have already come out and said, why are we still funding Israel? Why are we talking about attacking Iran on behalf of Israel? Why did we not get the Epstein files? They're all gonna turn around and go, yes, sir, of course, sir. We should all serve Netanyahu loyally and Israel should be first. It's not gonna happen. And so here's another case for you guys. I say things ahead of time. Everybody else does Monday morning quarterback, okay? So if it turns out, no, I was wrong, none of the right-wing shows flipped on him, and if he attacks Iran or does all these things, they will all say, oh, of course, sir, we love war, sir, we love Israel, sir, then I was wrong. And then you say, oh, you're okay, I'm not gonna watch Young Turks anymore. That guy doesn't know anything. But if it turns out that the right wing is in open revolt, and we were right about that, maybe you should think about who's telling you the truth and who's hiding the ball from you. Waz, what do you think?
Just a couple of things. I like that John brought up 2001 and 2002 time, where right now with the bludgeon that they're trying to use against people is this quote unquote anti-Semitism. If you don't believe that 14,000 babies should die of starvation, right? They're using anti-Semitism. Back in 2002, it was patriotism. It was like, if you don't think we should invade Iraq, if you don't think we should start as many wars as possible, you are a treasonous, traitorous, bad American. That's the cudgel that they use to silence people. And what I would say about Trump is like, yes, he's horrible, but all of the stuff that he's doing has precedence in previous presidencies, and especially the 9/11 era George Bush presidency, where all of this stuff that Cenk mentioned, torture and the Patriot Act, and all of this stuff was just a insane increase of presidential power. And Donald Trump is taking those cues and escalating them to a quite disturbing degree. But none of this stuff is new.
Yeah, I'm gonna say one other quick thing. That whole charge of anti-Semitism worked like a charm for about 50 years straight, right? The minute you slightest critique of Israel, anti-Semite, your life is canceled, right? You're banned from cable news, which by the way, I'm banned from cable news. I don't know if that's why, okay? There's a lot of things that happen where I'm like, I don't know why that happened. There might be a bunch of different reasons. Anyway, your career is ruined, et cetera, et cetera. Now that stuff, there's too many things going over the wall. They can't contain it, right? And now against the left, it works pretty well because you get triggered. Oh my God, I've been called a dirty word. I apologize profusely, right? I'm so sorry. That's like, anyway. With the right, go ahead, keep calling them anti-Semites. I dare you. Keep calling them anti-Semitic, basically racist, bigoted. See how that turns out for you. Yeah, because the right wing loves being called words like that. So keep doing it, Douglas Murray. Keep doing it, Mark Levin. Keep doing it, Ben Shapiro, Miriam Adelson. Go ahead, Israel First. Keep calling MAGA anti-Semitic and see how it turns out for you. My guess is it's not gonna turn out very well. And guys, I don't know what's gonna happen when both the voters of both parties say, that's it, we're done with Israel. I'm not gonna fund one more dollar to kill one more baby in Palestine. And by the way, good Christians, pro-life Christians, it's incumbent upon all of us, I'm not singling you out, but my whole life I have heard for 40 straight years in this country about big-hearted Christians who always help the needy, and I believe it. This would be the time. Over 16,000 children slaughtered in Gaza. And now the cabinet of Israel is saying, oh no, we're gonna slaughter a lot more than that. We're gonna drive them out of the country. We're gonna take all of Gaza. And if you dare complain, not only will we, if you're a student, we'll take your diploma away, we'll arrest you, we'll deport you. And if you're a university that doesn't take drastic action to ruin the lives of anyone who criticizes Israel, including in a benign op-ed, if you don't do that, we'll take away all of your funding, the cancer research, et cetera. They're poking the bear, and at some point that bear's gonna get up, and it's not gonna be pretty. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.